Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice, the podcast for women who are done waiting for the one and ready to become the parent on their own damn terms. We're talking fertility, pregnancy, emotional chaos, and the village that it takes to raise a kid. Sometimes you're crying in the bathtub. Sometimes you're crying because your toddler bit you. And sometimes you cry because you chose all of this. Welcome to Motherhood, solo style. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing Chaos, the podcast where we shine a light on the many different ways women build their lives and their families, often beautifully, messily, and always on their own terms. Today's guest has a story filled with strength, adventure, and heart. You're going to hear about a path to motherhood that challenges expectations and celebrates possibility. Let's dive in. Hello, Kristen. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You're back from all your travels.
Still on them.
Oh,
We are in Boston for 2.5 weeks-ish, Northeast, and then flying home tomorrow back to Colorado.
oh my gosh. I can't wait to dive a little bit more into that because I have a lot of questions about travel, especially I have one, but with twins, I imagine there's a lot more to it. So I can't wait to ask you some questions about that. But let's get started. And can you just share with me what led you to wanting to become a single mom by choice?
It's funny because it should be like a very easy question to answer,
Yep.
um, but it's not. And then like as over time, I feel like my answer has evolved, especially with traveling and people like outside of my regular circle of people. People are like, "You're a single mom. Why'd you decide to do that?" Um, and I think in a lot of circles, right, or the conversations that we have, it's like there's a lot of women who didn't find a partner to have a child or children with. So that's when they decided to go down this path. When I heard about like SMBCs or single moms by choice, that there's like this community of people, I was like, oh, I don't want to look for someone anymore. Like that's so much more work.
Yeah,
I
right. It
think,
is.
right? Um, that I would rather just figure out how to do this on my own. And then I this is going to sound funny, but hopefully you and those who listen laugh at this. There is a group called Are We Dating the Same Guy? Have you heard
I
of
know
that on Facebook?
exactly what you mean. Yes.
Yeah, so I joined that group, and any hope I had about then finding a guy to date, I was like, no,
Hmm.
that sounds absolutely terrible. And so I just, rather than focusing my energy on that, I learned not as much as I could, right? I wanted some surprises about having kids and parenting. I don't want to be that rigid, but I was like, that just seems like the path I want to take.
Yeah.
And here I am. I have 18-month-old. They just turned 17 months actually yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
Twins, a boy and a girl, and
Oh
they're
my
awesome. They're so
gosh.
much
Oh
fun.
my gosh. The Are We Dating the Same Guy will definitely freak you out. And I not only belong here in Pittsburgh, but I also belong to the Columbus one because that's where I was living for a while before I moved back to Pittsburgh. And I'm like, are there any good guys out there anymore? I'm
I,
not really sure.
yeah, I don't know.
Even if they're wifed up, they might be questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I have stories there, but not for a podcast.
Okay, we'll have a conversation outside of here for that.
Sounds good.
So how did you learn about what an SMBC was? Because you mentioned once you found out what an SMBC was, then you like researched it a little bit more.
Yeah, so two of my dearest friends, a lesbian couple, they're in the military, were living in Italy at the time. I was over there and we were driving to Slovenia. That sounds like this like some wild trip. They just where they lived proximity wise was close. And we were talking about donor conceived children. Their kids are donor conceived and um they just let me ask all of the questions because I was like, well, maybe I just do that. And she was like, well, have you heard of single moms by choice? And I was like,
No.
that's like like a group of people? What? No. Ended up down like the Facebook rabbit hole and never looked back.
But you did IUI. Tell me about that journey and how did you feel as you were learning about having twins through that journey?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, very planned, right? So 2020 Instagram, Kind Body, a fertility clinic, was opening a clinic in Denver. So they had um, Instagram ads like crazy. And I work in digital marketing, and so I'm generally not influenced by the gram, but it just kept coming up, and my, friends were having kids and all that. So I went and got my fertility checked because I knew I wanted kids, right? I didn't know what that looked like exactly, but I knew that kids were in my future. And so in talking with the fertility clinic, there was kind of like, what are your options? I'm like, IUI is the least cost of, between IUI, IVF, and then adoption, right? Those are sort of
Yeah.
the three paths to parenthood that I was looking at.
Yeah.
So the goal was, do IUI, or I was like, do I freeze my eggs?
Yeah.
And I decided, again, it's all of these decisions are super personal, but the more we can talk about them, the more other people know, and it becomes less scary. I didn't want to freeze my eggs. I didn't want to do IVF. If I was going to spend that amount of money, I would look into adoption.
Yeah.
But that was putting the cart ahead of the horse. I was like, I'll start with IUI and go from there. I also knew that I didn't want, I'm an only child and I hate it. Um, my my parents know this now. They're like, I didn't know you hated your childhood. I'm like, I didn't hate my childhood. I just wish I
Oh,
had someone to share it with.
right. Exactly. It's a little
Um,
different.
yeah. And so I talked with my fertility doctor and I was like, can I take Clomid to increase the likelihood of multiples? And she was like, yes, but like there's huge guardrails at this clinic around what that means, right? So if you have more than three embryos or three follicles, then you will have to do selective termination, right? So effectively an abortion to not have
Oh,
over
wow.
three. Like they didn't do higher order multiples. So
Okay.
twins and triplets were fair game.
Yeah.
I had three follicles that dropped when I did my IUI, and it was kind of like, I only have two arms, please only. I don't want to go through the process of selection. That
Right.
sounded terrifying to me.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I thankfully only two implanted, um, and they just turned 17 months. So it wasn't a surprise to me. Like I knew the follicles were there, but then when I went in and got my ultrasound with the OB, not the fertility doctor, that was an order of operations problem on my end. It all worked out in the end, but she was like, "Wait, are you expecting twins? Are you excited about twins?" I was like, "I'm excited about twins because now I don't have to do pregnancy twice,
Yeah.
and they have siblings."
Right. Built-in siblings. Yeah. Built-in best
Yep.
friends. And you didn't have to have that, oh shit, I'm pregnant with twins moment because you knew
Yeah.
going into it.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping for it. And people think I'm crazy for that, and that's
No,
fine. People think I'm crazy for being a single mom, but
let
you
them.
know, yeah.
As Mel Robbins would say, let them.
Yes. Need to read that. I keep seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, but it's on the list. It's a very long list.
It's probably easier to listen to it than read it, right? We have a
That's
limited time
yeah.
these days.
I have learned that if you have Spotify Premium, just random fact for everyone,
Yeah.
they do have audiobooks. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks through Spotify Premium now.
Okay. Noted. I'm gonna have to start doing
Yeah.
that because I miss reading.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of curiosity or even shock when you tell people about these conversations of one becoming a single mom by choice and making that decision and also the decision to become a twin mom?
It's probably different. I don't openly talk about the choice to have twins,
Yeah.
because that's I think it's more controversial than the decision to become a single mom by choice. I think people's reactions to become a single, or when I say I'm a single mom, is pity, and I'm like, no, don't pity me because my kids have a stable household. There's so much predictability. Like
Hmm.
that's not to say there are not couples who are knocking parenthood out of the park, but I think you see statistically like arguments between parents or things like that creates it friction in a household that we just don't have. Like
Right.
they can't go to another parent and get a different answer. Like everyone
Hmm.
looks to me, whether it's my parents, my aunts, like our friends, they're like, I don't know what does mom want, right? Like
Yeah.
um so I'm like yeah, I guess to answer your question in a very long-winded way is I think that the natural response is pity, which Jokes on them because we're thriving over here.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, twins, I don't talk. They're just like, oh, so do twins run in your family or did you do IVF? And I'm like, well, twins run in my family now. And just kind of like let it go. Like, I'm never going to see you again. I don't need to talk about how my kids came into the world.
Do you feel like it's controversial for a reason to talk about the twin part?
Um, Now that I'm in the twin mom world, I think the judgment more comes from twin moms, right? Like, why would you choose this? Like it's not
Oh,
easy. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think with any group that you're a part of, you're gonna get different ends of the spectrum of like, right, screen time and not screen time, like twin chaos, single child chaos. Like it's all chaos.
right.
Kids.
To give
Um,
them food before 6 months or to not give them food before 6 months.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there's just some level of judgment.
That's unfortunate, but I think to your point, there are, even just as a single mom by choice, people will say similar questions. And I
Yeah.
find them to be rude for the most part. But why would you choose to do this? It's difficult enough. A child should have two parents or whatever ignorant response they're going to have. Um, and as a boy mom, and you have a daughter too, but as a boy mom, do you ever get from people, why would you rob your son of having a father?
My dad is my kid's best friend. So
Yeah.
I'm not robbing them of anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I do they have a father? Like, they have a biological person who brought them, helped bring them into this world. We do say donor conceived or their donor. I know that's another conversation about like how
Yep.
do you refer to their donor? Some will say bio father, things like that.
Yeah.
We are a donor labeled household.
Yes.
But I have been very intentional about the relationships that they have in their life and the male relationships they have in their lives.
Yeah.
Um, and that's all you can do, right? Like
Right.
the men in their lives are present, and that's period.
It's it's one of the questions I had received after I had announced was basically, why would I rob my baby of not having a father? And I'm like, well, do you know how many kids come from a home where the father is not around, or they don't feel the love of two parents, or their parents fight, and they just don't know what a true loving relationship looks like or household looks like. So no, I'm not robbing my son of all those things. He is
Yeah,
going to
and
be raised with love and surrounded by amazing people, both men and women. I have a lot of great friends who have amazing husbands who are around, and same, the village is very strong. My father is there, his uncles.
yeah, and I think to build on that. We're at family's house right now, and they are out at a farm today. Um,
Oh my
because
gosh.
I
Please
have to
tell me there
work.
are cows.
Probably. I don't know,
Okay.
actually. I was like, I don't want to know because I'm gonna miss it.
Oh.
And it's hard. Like, I don't have guilt of like, oh, I have to work today
Yeah.
and, talk to Laura because this is something that I want to do. Like, I find joy in the fact that they are out building relationships with other important people in our lives because heaven forbid something happens to me, like, and they have no relationships with other people, then what? Like,
Right.
no, they know aunties, and that's what they're doing today, and that's, I love that for them.
You're exposing them to not only a lot of people, but a lot of cultures too, which is nice
Yeah.
through your travels.
They went to the aquarium yesterday and I was sitting at a desk. So, I have been coming to Boston my entire life, have never been to the New England Aquarium. They're a year and a half and they've done more in Boston than I've done in my whole life. So,
They're
you
like,
know,
Mom, catch up, okay?
right? Ridiculous.
Right. Looking back, what has gotten you through some of the tough moments? And I know that we'll get into a little bit of your pregnancy and stuff too, but did you have anything that stands out that got you through?
The hardest, so let me preface this with I delivered at 34 weeks. They were 3.5 and 4.5 pounds, and they were in the NICU for just under a month. That has not been the hardest part of my pregnancy or of their lives.
Yeah.
The hardest week of their lives was the first and only week we did at daycare. And it was not because they were at daycare and I had trouble leaving them. Like, I had left them for when they were in the NICU, I went home at night because that's
Yeah.
allowed me to recover and be more present for them. Um, and but at daycare, they their adjusted age was about a month, right? When you have to go back to work, because not going back to work was not an option for me, right? For any single
Most
mom.
of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Someday I'll win the lottery. Yeah, but
It's
haven't
855 million or something now. Make sure you play.
right? We played last week. We didn't win.
Oh,
So,
darn it.
maybe this week.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but like I have premature kids, right? And so I was like, here's
Yep.
their nap schedule. We were still kind of on our NICU schedule at that point, which like a year and a half in, staying on a schedule like that has been one of the best things I've ever done. But these people were like, well, I walk in, I barely got an orientation, and they're like, here's a key tag to get in, and here's another one for daddy. And I was like, did you not read any of the paperwork that I gave you? You asked me to fill out like a library of information about their medical history and all of that. And then you somehow missed the detail that their dad's information wasn't filled in. Like,
Yeah.
and I wrote, like, I am the sole parent. Here are other people who are authorized, both like for their doctors. Now I have a will. Like, it is all legally documented who these people are in their lives.
Yeah.
And you couldn't, like, that didn't check out for you. And then I was being the mom who was micromanaging the teacher. And I was like, there is a disconnect here. And I don't know what it is because again, we have had lots of care teams and they're like, you're so easygoing as a mom. And I'm like, I'm a type A human and I plan a lot, but like, I don't know a lot of this stuff. I'm just trying to take it all in and learn,
Hmm.
and follow a schedule so that we're not off the rails every day. But these women, I guess they were just happened to be women at this daycare, were awful to me. And I was like,
Oh
nah,
my God.
I'm moving on because it was terrible. I tried not to think about it. But I'm part of
Let's not go
another
there.
group.
Let's not open that wound.
No. But the best thing of the last year that has happened to me is we found a nanny through our Moms of Multiples group.
Oh,
There's a local, yeah, in Denver, and another family was moving. It was like almost this exact time last year. They're like, she'll be available in 3 weeks, and I was like, sold. Like, and she's incredible. I tell her she's not allowed to quit until they're 18 and moving out. Um, she laughs at me because she loves babies, but I'm like, no, you think I'm kidding, but
yeah.
you're
You're like,
stuck with
you're
me
with us
forever.
for life. Yeah. It's in
Yeah.
my will.
Yep.
So, because it's a legally binding document, you're here till they're
Yeah.
18. Sorry.
Yep.
You did sign the paper. You didn't know what you were
Yeah.
signing, but you signed it.
I'm editing it to say you are never allowed to leave me. But
Exactly.
yeah.
So one of your twins was growth restricted. Is that why they were born at 34 weeks?
No, honestly, I don't know. I got up in the middle of the night to pee. Turns out it wasn't that. My water broke for baby A, who is my baby boy. And he ruptured. She was the one we were monitoring. Baby B, she was like up under my ribs, but he was the one who ruptured. And then we kind of got there and they were like, well, we'll just take him out. I had a scheduled C-section anyway. I wasn't trying to do a vaginal birth because she was breech.
Oh,
She would have ended up in a C-section either way. And I wasn't trying to have stitches in two places. I don't know medically why
yeah.
he ruptured early. I wouldn't say I'm definitely not a religious person, maybe spiritually, but you read in groups of like one ruptures because they sense something's wrong with the other. And so I kind of wonder, I'm like, did he rupture because he could sense that something was wrong with his sister? Um,
Oh.
I don't know, but I kind of like, well, they do look out for each other, so maybe.
He's the protective big brother.
Who wails on her now, but yes, he
Oh,
does
well,
love her dearly.
eventually it will flip and then she'll be the one who's wailing on him. But that's so
Probably.
sweet. I mean, not that he decided to come out early, but that he was protecting her because he sensed something. If that's the case, which
Yeah.
I believe too, that it was.
Yeah, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to have hope in this world that that's what
Yeah,
it was.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
So they were under 5 pounds and they
yep.
went into the NICU. How long were they there for, you said?
23 days.
Okay. And what was
So,
that experience like for you?
um, I don't know how people leave the hospital without a NICU stay. And I only say that because I learned so much from from our nurses. Our care team was absolutely incredible. Um, we had to be in the NICU in the hospital we were in, you had to have experience as a nurse. It wasn't like any of these people were fresh out of nursing school. Like a lot of them had worked in, adult ICUs and PICUs, things like that. And they're like, we just like babies, so here we are.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just they became our family for those 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. And I sent them a Christmas card, like, I wish we could
Aw.
walk back in, and like NICUs are lockdown units, so you can't just like walk in and say hi, but
Yeah.
um, just to like bring them in and be like, here are these kids, like thank you for making sure that they were okay and that I was okay.
Yeah.
They really embraced, like my dad was there every day, not every day, but most days. We have, other family in Denver, and some old, like, we call him Uncle Mark. He's my dad's age, so he's really more like a second grandpa, but we go by Uncle Mark. And, they were the two old guys that came into the NICU every day. Like everybody knew who they were, which room they were going to. Like it
That's
was
cute.
awesome. Yeah.
So it sounds like the twins were not really ever alone.
As a parent, they give you wristbands, and usually it goes to each parent.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was one parent, so my dad had the other one. We could have been there around the clock, but the doctors were like, go home, take care of yourself. You had a
Mhm.
C-section. It was not traumatic by any means, but like it is still a huge surgery. Like I still notice, like I move sometimes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a muscle that got ripped apart.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a C-section or not,
No, I
but
begged them to cut me open at one point, but that's a whole different conversation.
yeah. But I also can't imagine doing a vaginal birth, so like props to you.
Thank you.
Um, it's all wild.
It is. It's a
However
whole
you look
thing.
at it, it's all wild.
Yeah.
We grow humans inside our uterus, like
I,
in our bellies, like what
yeah.
is happening?
I was actually just gonna
Um,
say the whole process of like growing a child is very bizarre, and then pushing it out and or having it cut out is just even more wild. And then you're left to take care of this tiny human for the rest of their lives. And eventually they become big humans, but still.
yeah, I don't know when that happens.
Not anytime soon.
No, that's someone told me once. They're like, everything is just phases, right? Like it doesn't get easier, it just gets different because everything's
Yeah.
in a phase. So I'm like, we're walking around now, which is great because I don't have to carry them everywhere. I carry them a lot, but I don't have to carry them everywhere, or the stroller doesn't have to come, things like that. But like having a 1.5-year-old want to walk on their own is like its own feat in itself. I don't know if you're to the walking phase yet, but
Almost.
oh, it's right up there with the like. Have you seen those memes on Instagram that's like, I'm sorry I was late. My toddler wanted to do it myself. That's like where we are. Like, I'm sorry I'm late. My toddler wanted to walk.
Right.
Yeah.
No, Weston has taken like 2 steps, and then I got
Okay.
overly excited and scared the shit out of him. And he was just like, oh my God, I'm never doing that again. But then last night he did it again for the first time in maybe a week and a half. And so I was just like, yay, like so quiet. And I was like, I'm not going to freak you out this time because maybe you'll keep doing it. I'm hoping by his first birthday, which is next week, that he'll do it.
All right. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping for you.
But I'm sure your back hurts less and your shoulders because they're now walking.
Yeah. Yes. And I got a massage the other day to like straighten myself out because I hold them both on the left, not at the same time. If I'm holding at the same time, it's obviously both arms, but naturally on the left. So you're just like crooked. Um,
Yep.
yeah. So I selfishly got, or yeah, I don't know if it's selfish or not. I got a massage and I feel like a new human.
I
Not
bet.
back to myself. Like I'm still sore. My aunt asked me the other day, she was like, is this what you thought parenting would be a year and a half in? And I was like, everyone talks about getting their body back, right? And I always took that to mean like, oh, you're back to your like pre-baby weight and things like that, or you're not tired. I sleep 8 hours a night, still tired. But the hardest thing, oh yeah, sleeping through the night's great, like, and
Yeah.
especially with two of them. Um, but the hardest thing is how physically sore I am on any given day. And I don't
Mhm.
know if it's like from sitting on the floor with them with bad posture, like I'll own that, carrying them both, right? But just the like,
Always.
posturally, yeah,
Yeah.
I know I'm sitting here now. I'm like, oh, I should probably sit up straight. Um, but yeah, just like how sore I am. That's not, that wasn't on my baby bingo card at all.
Yeah. A few things though there. So one, I had mom wrist really bad, which I'm sure you had with both. But I'm
No.
like, why does it feel like my hand is broken for the longest time? I'm like, I literally feel like I tore something. I think it was this arm because I would feed him. I would wrap him and then feed him.
Yeah.
And so my arm was always bent. So my wrist hurt for the longest time. And then when he started self feeding, that was so much easier and it gave me a break. But to your point, like I'll get adjusted at the chiropractor, and 2 days later, I'm just back to where I was because I have to pick him up. Yeah.
Yeah, so the walking game will change that for you. It's
Gosh.
great.
Yeah. But then you said about the schedule. So tell me from day one that they returned home from, or they came home from the NICU, what did their schedule look like and your schedule? And how did you get them to sleep 8 hours? Because we're still working on that.
Um, so yeah, in the NICU, they are on a 3-hour schedule. So it's 8:11 to 5, 8:11 to 5, right? Around the clock of what they in the NICU it's called cares. So they get their temperature checked, their diaper changed, and then fed, and then they can go back to sleep. So when we came home, we stayed on that same schedule. Um, and then slowly phased out like if they were awake or things like that. And honestly, like followed taking care of babies. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I'm familiar,
Oh,
just haven't done it.
oh. And the mom verse of things that are controversial. It is not a cry it out method. My kids don't really cry when they go to bed because it's predictable for them, right?
Yeah.
Like they might whine a little bit because they want to be held or things like that. They're not crying in bed for 45 minutes, but I put them down. They might fiddle. The little boy, like we usually sit together for like 5 minutes, then he goes down. A little girl, she'll play. She never stops. She's the Energizer Bunny. Um, and then
Sounds like
she
my
she
son.
just yeah, and then she just falls over and is asleep. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, no care in the world is how you do that, Hadley.
Yeah.
So just following that of like it's the I read also there's another book I've read so many or listened to really is the honest answer there. A lot of books, but it's Bringing Up Bebe, and one of the things that stuck out in that book, or probably the biggest thing that stuck out in that book for me was les pause, which is like babies make so much noise. Like
Oh gosh.
nobody talks about how noisy babies and toddlers are when they sleep, but like naturally during their REM cycles, they wake up and they're disoriented, things like that, and they yell. Our like natural response is to go wake them up or to see what's wrong, but if you give like lay pause, which is just to stop and say like, do they actually need something, or are they just kind of being noisy in sleep? And so practicing that of just not waking them up when just be or getting them out of bed because they're kind of awake has really helped. So
Yeah.
they learn to sort of it's not even self-soothing, right? It's just putting themselves back to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a very simplified answer, but because when they are crying, like it pulls at your heartstrings, there's things like that. Like, are they
Yeah.
hungry? Are they not? But again, those consistent feeds, they know when they're going to eat to this day, right? Like they know that they get a bottle after they wake up. Um, they're tiny still, so they get the calories and things
Yeah.
like that. But just a schedule. I don't know.
I,
Taking
I
care of
think that
babies.
I think that's one thing I probably could have done better. Because I used the Huckleberry app, but I didn't like pay for it. I just did the free version. So I just went along with, okay, well, every 2 hours or whatever, I can't remember at this point, he would need to eat, play, sleep. But I think where we go wrong is regressions. Those are huge.
Regressions
People
are
don't tell you
hard.
about how many freaking regressions there are.
It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially like my little boy, he's mama's boy for sure.
Mm.
Um, the little girl, I will hold her, but he like kind of kicks her out, so she ends up cuddling with somebody else, which I feel bad, but
Everyone's fine.
we're
Everyone's
surviving.
yeah.
It's survival mode.
How have you taken care of yourself over this last year and a half?
In some ways, I don't know maybe that I have. I like to think that I have in that I I do trust the people in our village. I really do. We have I mentioned Uncle Mark. His wife is Oma, the German grandma. Um,
No.
obviously not actually grandma and grandpa. It confuses people because I'm like, no, they're not my parents, but and no, they're not the donor's parents. Like
Right.
it's, you have to be careful who you say that to because then they try to connect the dots and there's
Yeah.
not really a dot to be connected there. But they live not down the street, but not too far away. And they would probably live with us if they could. Um, that's how much they love spending time with them. And so I'm just like, hey, I want to go do this thing. Like we went to, my best friend and I once went and saw Ali Wong at Comedy Works a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, they're just like kind of throw time on the calendar, like we'll come over.
Oh my
So I think because I'm not afraid to leave my kids, um, and I trust the people that they're with,
Yeah.
or I allow myself to go do things that bring me joy,
Yeah.
whatever that means. For a long time, I worked events in um, like big sporting events in Denver and concerts. So at Red Rocks, I think everyone's heard of Red Rocks.
Yep.
Yeah, so I worked up there for almost a decade, and even when they were born, and I probably worked 7 or 8 shows up there last summer after they were born, and just had friends and neighbors watch them because I loved working up there.
Yeah.
I've since stopped that for other reasons, but yeah, you just have to find the people, or during the workday. Sometimes I, my boss knows this, and I doubt he'll listen to this podcast, but like I'll go to the gym in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
My work gets done, but like it's just there with their nanny, and it's just you got to do what you got to do.
You have to take care of yourself still. What do they say about you always have to fill your cup first?
Yeah, it's like what is that? Being on a plane, putting your oxygen mask on first.
Exactly. What do you wish more people understood about the role of community and solo motherhood?
It's totally what you make it, right? Our SMC group in Denver is for those that make it a priority, or even our moms of multiples group, right, which is not single moms, it is just moms of multiples.
Yeah.
If you make an effort to be a part of that group, it will show up for you, right? And you have to give and take, right? It's not all that, but there's often um, women who are thinking or trying, and they like put times like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Anyone who has kids or is thinking about kids knows that that's like nap time.
Prime
Like,
nap time.
right? And so I am happy to engage with you, but you have to understand that once you're a parent, or these people are parents, like there are limitations to how you can engage with the world.
Mhm.
um and you can't get mad about it, right? Like you have to figure out how that group works,
Yeah.
um for good, bad, and different, right? If there's something you don't like, how do you change it? Like one of the things that I've done with our group is I just throw time in our Facebook group on the calendar that works for me for a coffee shop, and I'm like, if you're not a morning person, then don't come, right?
Right.
Plan something in the evening. But for those who are morning people and show up, like we're all friends.
Yeah.
So the groups are what you make of them and what you're willing to put into them. Um,
Yeah.
but they're fantastic when you do.
I need to lean
So
more into mine now that we're having this conversation.
yeah, and again, the natural one for me is moms of multiples, but
Yeah.
there's so many different types. There's community groups, like a group that I could actually have never really met tons of people in person, but is my neighborhood buy nothing group. And there's a
Yes.
handful of us that are there's a group of older kids, then there's me, and then there's some younger kids, and it's just like constant shuffle of stuff in in that group. And so I don't know these people personally, but I feel like I do because like I'm getting stuff from them and I'm giving
Right.
it to other people.
Mhm.
So you find it, just you just have to look for it, so whatever it means for you. But I definitely recommend buy nothing groups for other reasons than free stuff, or than community. The free stuff is great.
The one question that just came to mind is what was one item postpartum that you did like an impulse buy on
Oh
or feel like you
gosh.
didn't have enough of?
um This is probably twin specific. Um, so I exclusively pumped. Being in the NICU with latching, my kids were on feeding tubes for a long time. So I exclusively
Yeah.
pumped for 14 months. I'm just gonna throw that in there. It was a long time.
Props to you,
And
mama.
thank you. Um, but I got everyone is like, oh, twins, a twinsy pillow, which is basically like a double boppy that's combined. I hate it. Like everyone talks about it. So we have two boppies, and then I covered them. They were so small with swaddles so that they wouldn't fall through the bottom. And then I could sit in bed with each of them on the side, like behind or next to me, with my legs out and pumping, right?
Yeah.
So I could do all of these things at once. Um, so, I got a boppy from I don't know where, probably a friend, and it was, if I breastfeed, great. Now I have this boppy. Never used it for breastfeeding. So I think the things that you get and you make work are those have been the best things for me.
Well, traveling with the twins, how did you get started and how did you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I started small, right? I think the biggest hurdle that you have to do when you have kids is getting out of the house. For most of my maternity leave, we had people staying over at my house. Like it was kind of a revolving door of people, which I'm so thankful for. Like in some moments it was challenging because you're like, okay, I have to teach somebody else how to here's what we do to take care of them. I wouldn't take any of it back. I learned so much from everyone that came through, and it allowed me to thrive. It allowed them to thrive, right? But we were able to get out of the house and go do stuff, right? I always had extra hands. So when I had to start doing it myself, I had sort of systems in place or tried and true things that worked for us to get out of the house. And so the first time we went to like my parents' house. A different aunt came and she rented like an XL Suburban and we filled it with so much stuff because I didn't know what I needed to like be away from our house. And
Right.
now like we go to my parents' house and we have double of everything. We spend so much time there that it didn't make sense to bring it back and forth. I was able to sort of like test and learn, if you will. Thank you, corporate America. Um, and that helped, right? But it wasn't like I didn't leave like spend the night with them at 2 weeks old. Like props to those who do. I mean they were in the NICU at that point, but like
Yeah.
we built up to leaving the house for sustained periods of time. And so finally when we got to a point where we were gonna fly, like the hardest part was like how do I fit what the necessities are, right? Or things that I don't want to buy again, into a suitcase,
Yeah.
with a large suitcase. It is, we're not flying with a carry-on here, but um,
That would be
but
impressive.
we're almost there.
Oh,
Um,
I feel like
yeah.
you have a blog, which we're going to talk about, but I feel like you need to include a series of that kind of information.
Okay, I do have one that is like flying with babies, basically. Because there's like when you're flying, I was pumping, right? They were only on breast milk the first time we flew. So how do you fly with breast milk, right? It seems overwhelming. If you're prepared, it's really not that hard, right? So I think that's what I've learned is my high school English teacher always used to say, chance favors the prepared mind. I read the TSA website and it's like you can come through with breast milk, any quantity really. It just gets screened on the side. And so what I did is like put a cooler of their breast milk on its own, right? So everything else can go through security. I can get them all back together in their stroller, all the bags back together while that's being screened, right? So
Yeah.
it's just being able to figure out like understand to the best of your ability what's going to happen to be able to predict a little bit to make it easier on yourself,
Yeah.
um which again is like my type A planningness, but
That's not a bad thing, though, to be a type A planner, especially when it comes to travel. I feel like it's important to have preparedness, right? Otherwise,
yeah.
you're not going to succeed. Also, about the breast milk, I don't know if you knew this, and you're not pumping anymore, but for any of the listeners, you can ask TSA to change their gloves if they're
Yes,
going to check your bag that has the milk in it, which I do encourage.
the people who've done mine always have, and we actually
Good.
flying out here a few weeks ago, one of the bottles I was just brought whole milk because it was going to go bad in the fridge. I was like, I'll just pack a bunch of bottles, we'll go through. It flagged as an explosive. um Yeah, and so I had to have like a pat down. They did my shoes and all of that, but through all of that, they changed their gloves so many times and like were very conscientious of the fact that it was infant food. Yeah, but definitely hold your boundaries. I've had good experiences. I've seen people who have been denied breast milk, like you see that on social media.
Oh, wow.
Um, Always ask for a supervisor if you need to. Like,
That's really sad. Oh my gosh.
yeah, oh, I would lose my ever living shit if someone told me that I had to throw out breast milk. Whole
Going
milk's
from
fine, but
regular postpartum to postpartum rage is a whole different type of person.
yeah, yes.
Yes. Are there any pieces of advice that you would have for people who are looking to travel with an infant?
Do it. Right, like it's parenting is hard. It doesn't matter where you're doing it. You might as well enjoy the view. I know that's
True.
again a social media cliche, but it is do it. And then you don't need half the things you think you need. You just don't, right?
Yeah.
We like creature comforts. There's things that are great. You know, there are organizations like Baby Equip that exist if you feel like you need extra things. So like we heat bottles now. I don't need a bottle warmer. I use mugs. I heat hot water and I throw them in there, right?
Yeah.
Like you just have to get creative with it. Don't overthink
Mhm.
it. Just do it. You'll figure it out.
Do you have a stroller recommendation for not just twins, but also just for having one or more? Well, two or more.
Um, we have the Uppa Baby Vista. It's a single stroller that goes tandem. And I think for the amount that we're out and about, we also have a Thule double stroller that I can pull behind my bike. I hate having it in public. It is technically like wide enough for a door frame, but it's so hard to navigate. So yeah, the Uppa Baby, highly recommend. And then traveling, if you use the case, you have to buy it from them. But if the airlines break it, then Uppa Baby warranties it. It has been on 10 plus flights now. I love it.
That's really good advice. I have the Vista, but I only have one. But I have a
But if you have a
neighbor.
second, you can
Yeah,
add on.
exactly. Yeah. But I have a neighbor that's expecting her second, and she's like, strollers are so stressful. I'm like, yeah, I mean, just for having one, I stressed out so much figuring out what stroller I want. And those Facebook groups will get you every time. They will
Yeah.
influence you to buy everything Nuna, everything up a baby. Yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
well, I guess I got to buy this because it's the best.
I found I have like three friends who have kids who are just older than mine. And I'm like, what do you have for this? What did you use? Because the amount of decisions that you have to make as a mom, if I have a trusted person in my life who I know has made that decision, I'm gonna trust it. I
Yeah.
didn't really go down the rabbit hole of strollers because I have a friend who is a twin mom. They're 9 months older than my twins, said she has the Upper Baby Vista with the Mesa car seats. I was like, done, found it on sale. Like, if you have people that you trust, it, trust it.
What moments with your twins have made you feel extremely grateful for this journey?
Oh, that's hard because there's so many. And it's not, I don't even know about grateful so much as like the things that make me so happy is seeing them figure out the world around them. You know, they're an early intervention because they're preemies, low birth weight, you know, and a couple of other reasons. And so like walking, we've worked on walking for so long
Hmm.
that of course they're going to walk. But this week, you know, we don't have a sliding glass door at our house or screens. When we were here, they had never seen us like a slider before, had one to play with, and they figured it out. And then it was, you know, it was constant once they figured it out. But just seeing like a small human or a person have the determination to figure something new out
Yeah.
is like it's indescribable. I really don't have the words to just like how cool it is just to watch them learn things that are so easy for us.
Yes.
But
And uh, and you said about the early intervention, but overcoming the struggles along the way, right? Just watching them do that.
yeah, and early intervention I think is a program that's not talked about or maybe utilized as much as it could or should be. Like I have employer sponsored healthcare, again, financially stable. Like I could do all of these things, but the program exists and has a criteria in which like my kids qualify through medical definition, my little girl was 3.5 pounds. She automatically qualified because of a prematurity, like existing condition.
Yeah.
And then my son had to test into it.
Yeah.
And but he did, right? Like he was delayed in all of these areas, and now they're catching up. But
Yeah.
it's like people are like, well, it's you're taking from the system. I'm like, no, I've paid into the system for a very long time. I've worked
Hmm.
since I was 16, and now when I need it, it's available for my kids to benefit from and hopefully help them thrive for their, I mean, it already has, right? It's helped them learn to walk
Yeah.
for the rest of their lives. So
Yeah.
I wish people, yeah, like understood the value of these programs that exist in our communities.
I think too, to that point, a lot of people don't know about early intervention, which more people should. Maybe that's an episode to have in the future. But I found that for Weston, I had to keep pushing his pediatrician to submit the referral for him to have early intervention.
Oh,
And that's
interesting.
unfortunate. But I think that I've found with other women or parents is that when they have noticed a delay in some area of their child's growth, their pediatrician is sometimes like, let's just wait and see. Like they keep pushing off instead of interjecting and allowing parents to get that help to not delay their growth, right?
Um, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I work in marketing.
Same.
I know all of this from what I've learned in the last year and a half. Um, but is check with your local programs. What I didn't realize is like early intervention is financed at a state level, but it's operated at a county level, at least in Colorado. So
It
like
is, yeah.
I had friends who were in Rocky Mountain Human Services, which is the city and county of Denver. I live in Jefferson County, so it's an entirely different program with like entirely different protocols. But both of them you can self-refer. So you
Good
can
idea.
sign up for it and say, hey, here's why I believe my child needs this program, and they'll reach out to the pediatrician to say like to validate medical records. Yeah, so you can go into the programs and then those independent agencies do their own testing. So if your pediatrician is like pushing back on you or saying let's wait and your gut's telling you not to, reach out to the organization, and even if they don't have an online forum, say, hey, um, I believe my child would benefit from these services. Is there someone I can talk to figure out how to get into the program or get tested into the program? However, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of testing and retesting and things like that. Like it's not simple, but it's definitely
Hmm.
worth following up if your gut's telling you to do
Yes, agreed. So whoever's listening, do it.
it. Yes.
As you look ahead, what are you most excited about in this chapter or phase of your life?
Um, Continuing to just see my kids grow and the relationship that they have with each other, um, the relationships that we have with other people in our family, our community. Um, it is cool just raising citizens of the world, if you will, as cheesy as that might be. Um, my kids are pretty cool. I like them. I'm sure most parents say that. Um, but I like spending time with them, and they get me out doing things. I've always been a busy person, getting out doing things that I wouldn't normally do or take time for myself to do, but doing
Yeah,
it for them. Like I didn't go to the aquarium yesterday, but we go to like the museums and stuff in Denver all the time, and it's really fun.
I love that. And so here's where you get to plug your blog. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's uh been a labor of love, I think. I started a blog just as I went back to work last year. We had some um bigger things happen. Hadley, I realize I think I've said her name a number of times. My son's name is Callan. Callan and Hadley. Hadley ended up in the emergency room, which is an episode in and of itself about breastfeeding and medical care. We won't go into that today. Like writing and experiencing and that advocacy that we were just talking about, right? It was a way for me to process it, but then in these groups, I'm seeing like a lot of the same questions get asked over and over and over again, and it's like there's not a real single resource on what's this experience. And like unless you're searching Facebook groups, it's hard to get a well-rounded answer. I'm not trying to pretend that I am a medical expert on any of this, but I like to share like my experience so that it's something that's relatable for people. Yes, early intervention, for example, like I have spent a lot of time working with family services and navigating like, okay, yes, I have employer-sponsored healthcare, but they're also on Medicaid.
Yeah.
And so just as a place to say, like, here are the things that I should be looking for or relating to, like, I guess that's more the complex end, but like, again, how we started this podcast of what was my process to become a single mom by choice,
Right.
because you'll see a lot of the questions get asked over and over again. It's all of our experiences are different.
Yeah.
I applaud you for being able to start a podcast and having this medium to share
Yeah.
that with. For me, it was writing it down. Uncomplicated momming is the name
I was
of it.
just about to ask you, how do you feel about posting? This is also another controversial thing, but how do you feel about posting the twins?
I do not post them on social media. We have an app called 23 Snaps, which is like our immediate family and close friends, our circle of people. They kind of have to opt into it. But yeah, no, they are my experience. My story is I'm very open about being a single mom. People know I have twins, but their faces and their sort of very personal things are not on social media.
Yeah, that was my decision too. When I had Weston, I was like, you know what? I think just because I'm a crime junkie, I wanted to keep his face off of the internet, but I also want him to make that decision when he's older. Should he want to create some sort of digital footprint?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, no. And my mom, of course, my mom's always like, well, why can't we post pictures? And I'm like, no, you can't.
Yeah. No, my family knows, and that's a very quick way to never see them again if they
Mm-hmm.
decide to post them on social media.
Yeah. I'm
But
always reminding my mom, like, no, you can't do it. Yeah. I'm not a big poster other than this, which is forcing me to learn to do that a little bit more. I'm very bad at it. But I don't want that life for him. I'm sure you feel the same way about the twins.
yeah, and mine is similar to yours. My first is I have a number of friends who like share every aspect of their children's lives on social media, and I'm like, yes, it's consent, but also like tangential to that is like I wanted to work in intelligence. I thought that would be so cool. I couldn't get into the CIA or the FBI, but here we are. If
Goals.
Right? Like if my parents had posted my entire lives on the internet, being
Can't.
able to do that would
Hmm.
have been impossible. I've made enough decisions for my kids at this point, right? Like there's some that I can choose, I guess, not to make that won't negatively impact their futures.
I love the way you phrase that too.
I'm
We're just
trying.
trying to make a better future for our kids. That's all.
Yeah. I was talking about it with someone the other day. My kids are going to end up in therapy. I just hope I'm not the reason why.
Everybody should have therapy, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
I think it
Yes.
should start at a young age that everybody is required to get some sort of therapy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with therapy. I just, again, hope that I'm not
We're not the reason. Yeah.
the breaking point of this crazy lady. We didn't talk about that though. My kids will know they are donor conceived. They will meet their donor siblings at some point. I know those are sort of the high level questions of like, will they know?
Always.
So they know they're donor conceived. We don't know who he is. It's identity release at 18.
Yeah.
So at 18 they will find out. But
So maybe that's a follow-up episode is one, we'll talk about how you're planning to tell the twins and then introduce them in the future, what that might look like, but also Hadley's experience with the emergency room.
yeah, that's a doozy.
Yeah. So I'll have you
Emergency
back.
room ambulance visits are not fun at any age, I don't think.
No, not at all. Yeah. Even as an
Yeah,
adult, that sucks.
would definitely love to chat again. I feel like we've been talking and I feel like we've only just touched the tip of the iceberg here.
Maybe I'll have to have you on as a co-host one day.
Oh, that's a scary thought. But well, I was gonna ask you. Oh, um, hmm, I don't know how to phrase it now, so it's okay. Well, it's weird because it's like your whole podcast is about other people. But I was gonna say I like have all of these same questions for you. Like, how did you end up down this road? And
Maybe you should come on and interview me so I could talk about it.
we'll do it. We'll flip the script.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Because
another episode.
I've only talked about my pregnancy, or no, sorry, I talked about getting pregnant in my second episode, but I haven't talked about any time after that, which was quite interesting. So my pregnancy and my delivery were stories.
All right. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have a flip the script episode. I love that for you.
Thank you. I love that for you too because you're going to interview me.
Okay. Oh, you'll have to write down the questions, and then I
You
can
have to
read them.
think of the questions. I have faith in you.
I'm glad you do. No, I'm just kidding. That's another thing as a parent is you don't realize what you're capable of. I mean, I think as a woman too, right?
Yep.
Especially like women who like working, like you don't realize what you're capable of until you do it. And sometimes you just have to get through it. It sucks, but you do it. Other times it's you don't realize how easy it is, and we just work it up in our heads, and it's easy. You get it done.
You look back on the last year and a half, is there anything you would like to tell yourself about having overcome the challenges and any difficult moments? What would you say to yourself?
I am actually like incredibly proud of myself and how I've been able to manage, I think, the mental game of it all,
Mhm.
of the comparisons, the uh administration of it all, right? Like dealing, my kids, they're quite literally my $1 million babies after being in the NICU. So like how to navigate the healthcare system, how to navigate early intervention, how to like the things that I have had to learn and done it well. And people like my family, they're always like, we're in awe of you. But being able to accept that and not just being
Mhm.
like, everybody does it, right? Like being able to take the compliment and just, I'm crushing it. My kids are pretty cool.
Yep. You did crush it. You are crushing it, and your kids are
Yeah.
amazing. Yes.
Yeah. Right back at you.
I it's one thing that we don't do is accept the compliments. I know I do it
No.
very badly. When
Yeah.
people give me a compliment, I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
We don't see ourselves for the badasses that we are.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, but my therapist had asked me, I think it was around the 3 or 4 month mark, but she was like, "Is there anything that you want to reflect on?" And I was like, I am stronger than I've ever given myself credit for. And I have been through
Mhm.
some really hard shit in my life, but I am so strong. And I kind of always knew it, but having gone through pregnancy and everything leading up to trying for fertility, I'm an incredibly strong person, and I think it took that moment for me to actually like admit that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's cool when you do because you're like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, okay.
I can
I
own
have a
this now.
lifetime to go, but
Yeah,
here we are,
yeah. I
one
made it
day at
to
a time.
40.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about their lifetime. So
Oh, yeah.
18, right? So 17 years to go
Yeah.
and then some.
And then, yeah,
Who
some
knows?
change. Kristen, it was amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to, keep following the people that you interview. I think
Yeah.
we all have awesome stories to tell, and I'm glad
Yes.
you're creating a platform to tell them.
Yes. And you're about to interview me. So there's that.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation with Kristen. Her journey reminds us that there's no one right way to become a mother, and that with courage, community, and a little chaos, it's possible to create a life that's both meaningful and full of adventure. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might find encouragement in Kristen's story. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll hear the first conversations that celebrate the many ways we are all choosing chaos. Until next time.